Well, Josh Freeman is from the Higher Education Policy Institute. That's the organisation that published the report that Ray was talking about in his piece there. Josh, how is the way Chinese students are choosing UK universities changing?
Thank you. Well, as you heard there from the report author, we see that Chinese students tend to very often cluster at a relatively small number of elite universities. So, for example, universities like University College London have more than 15,000 Chinese students, and other universities have less than 10. Now, that's great because they have a real community there. But what it also means is that they very often spend lots of their time speaking, interacting, socializing with other Chinese students, potentially instead of meeting students from other countries like the UK. So there's a question there about whether they get that full experience. And this is changing. Russell Group for universities, for example, are taking more students than ever, including students that would have gone to other UK universities. And so that clustering, that effect that the author mentioned, that might increase.
But overall, the number of Chinese students applying to UK universities rather than other countries is declining. Why is that?
Yes, that's true. And you heard that it was a 4% decrease in 2022. Now, this is not a phenomenon that's limited to the UK. We're also seeing similar decreases in the United States and in Australia. But there's a couple of things, I think, going on here. I think the first thing is that we're seeing a more competitive graduate employment market in China. Students want to enter the workforce earlier. They want to get more experience in the workforce doing that kind of work rather than doing additional degrees, postgraduate degrees, for example. So that's one thing. But also I think there's a sense among Chinese students that the best way to get good employment in China is actually to be educated at a Chinese university and to have that home, that domestic education, rather than going abroad, getting a foreign degree, and then coming back. And that's a switch we're starting to see. Now, it's a good question whether this is a short-term change or whether this is a new trend where the number of Chinese students staying in China is going to go up.
Well, if that is a new trend, it's going to be quite expensive for a lot of UK universities. So what are other countries doing to entice Chinese students or adapt their programmes that
Anyone who's been following the debate in UK higher education will know UK universities are in trouble. They depend on international students, particularly Chinese students, for their fee income. But you're absolutely right. And the brilliant thing about this report is that it makes the point that Chinese students are not just there for their fee income. They deserve a great education. They deserve that experience. Now, the National University of Singapore, I think, is a great example. They're doing these video interviews. So when you apply, you have to submit an interview, a video answering a certain question. What that allows the university to do is see you, get to know you, work out what your English skills are, work out what your weaknesses are, and then account for that, for example, in courses that you might take before you start your degree. These are great ways of making sure that Chinese students feel properly included, that their English is up to scratch, and that they're able to integrate and get the absolute most out of their UK student experience.
Josh Freeman at the Higher Education Policy Institute, thank you very much.